How's it going, everybody?
Hello, hello.
Thanks, everybody, for joining. We're going to give people a couple minutes to join the webinar before we get started, but welcome. Super happy to see y'all here. We'll give folks one more minute before we kick this thing off. All right. Cool. All right. Well, I'll go ahead and get started. Let's kick this thing off. So, welcome, everybody. My name is Nate Karchner. And I'm excited to welcome you to today's webinar, Automate Your Data Labeling with Generative AI. Before we get kicked into today's content, I just want to make a couple of quick housekeeping items. The first of which is that this webinar is being recorded. So once the webinar is over, we'll reach out to you. We'll have a recording for you. So no sweat there. And then there is going to be a Q&A at the end of today's session. So Sheree will be answering questions, and also will be in the chat if you have questions. I will say, if you do have questions, the easiest thing to do though is there's like a little button at the bottom of your screen that says Q&A. So if you want to just open that up, put your question there, those are going to be the first ones that we look at. And so go ahead and drop your questions in there. But with that, we'll go ahead and jump into today's topic. And so I'll introduce that really quickly and introduce our speakers. So today's topic around automating your data labeling with generative AI, I think is definitely timely. It's something that I think a lot of people are thinking about. We certainly see it with a lot of our customers and the people that we talk to. Something that I think has a lot of potential when it's done right, and I'm really excited about some of the things that Sheree's going to be sharing to help people do it in a way that provides a lot of accuracy while still taking advantage of the throughput of generative AI. So, and real quickly, like I'd love to introduce our speaker. So today's speaker is Sheree Zhang. She's a senior product manager here at HumanSignal and is an expert on this stuff and has been working on some of these features and working on this problem for us. So really excited to have her presenting today. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to her, and hope you enjoyed today's webinar. Thanks for joining.
Yay, awesome. Hi, everyone, and thanks so much, Nate, for the introduction. Really excited to be here talking about addressing some of the pain points we have with data labeling and seeing if we can make things a lot better. We'll be talking about automating your data labeling with generative AI through this new feature that we have, which we'll be going through a demo on. And with that, I'll jump into the outline of today. We'll go into an intro first into labeling pain points, and then how LLMs can potentially address some of the pain points there. We'll talk about our automated labeling solution, which we call prompts, and as well as some additional functionality on our Label Studio and HumanSignal platform that helps also with additional flexibility. I wanted to talk about this awesome customer success story also to kind of pull things together in context. And then we'll have some time at the end for some Q&A. As Nate mentioned, there's a Q&A option that you should see at the bottom of your Zoom screen, and you can add questions there as we go. Feel free to use the chat as well. So with that, I will jump right into it. All right, here's a brief introduction to labeling first, and also labeling with LLMs. As you are all probably well aware, labeling, especially manual labeling, is time-consuming, it's expensive, and often requires a lot of subject matter expertise to make sure that what you're labeling does have a good high amount of accuracy and is a good foundation for any further development that you do. This often means a lot of internal training to get your team members up to a level of speed where they are able to label with that good quality subject matter expertise. Scaling this manual effort, because it is manual, does get pretty costly and also can be impractical when we start talking about larger data sets into the tens, hundreds of thousands, even millions of rows of data or tasks. And sometimes existing ways of automating labeling can be pretty tricky to tackle. They require significant on-ramp, significant experience sometimes to set up an automation. And that we see that to be like a challenging pain point to address. So now, like, the problem becomes, what if we could inject that subject matter expertise here into labeling in a more scalable and more automated way? Kind of like if we had, a magic wand. And you know what? Sometimes what feels like a magic wand is, our large language models. And by now, y'all have probably heard about ChatGPT, LLMs, and generative AI. If we zoom in specifically on these large language models, we know them as these advanced systems with this extensive generalized knowledge designed to understand and generate human-like responses. And they can do a whole lot of things as we have learned and already applied. They're good at language translation, text summarization, sentiment analysis, creative writing, code generation, maybe. And now, what about data labeling? We're trying to understand and tackle this kind of challenge and see if we can apply large language models to help us with our data labeling tasks. Let's take a look at what LLMs labeling data might look like. Here I've got a screenshot on the right side of a ChatGPT interface where I am trying to get movie ratings. Maybe, I am a reviewer and I want to get a sense of how all these different movies that came out this year might be rated in terms of what audience might be able to watch it or what audience would be appropriate to watch this movie. As a human labeler, I am providing this context of this movie, instructing some instruction on what the ratings could be and what format I would like it to be, like G for general audience, PG, restricted, R. And so that instruction I will send to this LLM alongside the content that I want labeled. And that content in our example here is this movie summary. It's a SpongeBob SquarePants movie summary, and I want the LLM to return me a label which corresponds to the recommended movie rating for SpongeBob. In this case, ChatGPT returned G, which is generally available at any audience, and I tend to agree with that. So this seems to work for my single movie summary that I want labeled. Seems simple enough? There are some problems actually too, as you might be already well aware. And we spent a lot of time with our customers, with our users, and learning about challenges in this industry, where we identified a number of problems and kind of grouped them into four main categories. The first one is about reliability. So OpenAI GPTs and LLMs in general can be non-deterministic and the output and format can vary. So if in the previous example, we had just asked for a movie rating for a SpongeBob summary, maybe I'd get the rating back, but alongside a whole blurb and bullet points on why this rating came to be. Or maybe my output response from the LLM might not actually be one of the ratings that I had wanted to get back. So this output format can vary when we're interacting with these generalized models. Another pain point that a lot of our customers encounter is around the software and machine learning component. So getting a single label, like in our example, is pretty straightforward, pretty easy. But building a system and like a interface to be able to batch process, also log version outputs, version prompts with their LLMs is less so. And with some of the users that we spoke with, when they tried to implement LLMs for labeling, this was one of the challenges because sometimes the annotation teams and the teams working day to day with the data doesn't have exactly the right expertise to build the software, the pipelines to be able to scale this. The third challenge that we found was about domain expertise. So a lot of our kind of more advanced users or users with specific problems that are doing labeling for have a lot of domain knowledge or unique terminology. And sometimes this unique terminology or the depth of insight might not be understood by a generic LLM. And that's another issue when we're trying to use these generalized models for labeling. And finally, not least importantly, confidence is really important. Without a feedback loop, it's hard to gauge whether this prompt or in this LLM system I'm building for automating labeling is going to be able to scale to diverse data. I could see that I got one response back from my SpongeBob summary from the LLM that looked good, but that's one data point. I would like to build more confidence to understand whether or not this LLM system could perform across my whole project. And I'm excited to talk about now what we've actually built. We've taken these four problems that we've had and we're starting to tackle them with our platform. Firstly, with the reliability layer. What we've built with our automation labeling interface is a layer that constrains your outputs to desired formats. This could be things like classes in your label config in your Label Studio project. We also make sure that the outputs automatically align with Label Studio format so that you have a seamless interface from your project all the way to these auto-generated predictions from the LLM. We also provide, again, the seamless UI so that you don't really need to have a software engineering team or ML engineering to set things up. The UI enables users to be able to quickly build and iterate and accommodates for different personas. This makes the third point, the accessible platform, even better because it empowers our subject matter experts, who might not have too much experience with building and using LLMs. These subject matter experts can then add their expert logic, definitions to these LLM interfaces to be able to automate the data using the knowledge that they have. And then finally, we've also built an end-to-end workflow that enables this feedback loop so that you can iteratively evaluate and assess the outputs from your automated predictions and then better tune your prompt and make sure that you have the confidence that when you are actually using it, it will scale. All right. Next part I'm excited to talk about is our prompts interface. So we've just talked about like an intro of our problems and some of the points that we've addressed. I want to show us now walk through a demo of the actual prompts interface and how it might work. To set the stage a little bit, I wanted to present this made-up scenario, but a story where we want to categorize product reviews so that they go to the right department or the right team. Let's say we have a new e-commerce retailer, Shop Ease, and we're facing challenges with our customer service department due to a high volume of product-related feedback, maybe complaints, and our head of support, who is, let's call them Sam, wants us to streamline the response process by first categorizing these product reviews into these specific categories. Categories can be baby products, beauty, grocery, gourmet food, health, personal care, stuff like that. And then by categorizing this, they can then highlight top issues within category and assign like a specialized support team to address this. So I'm going to show us this example in our Label Studio interface. So this is the project I was just talking about. We've got 100 product reviews here. And my task is now to be able to categorize these product reviews that I have from our customers and then be able to assign them to a specific group so that our specialized groups can tackle the specific categories reviews. This more targeted approach for our use case will help our response times and also help focus on our team so that they are looking at reviews that belong to their category. So in this case, we've got this interface for labeling. We have our review from our customer, and we also have the title for the review or the product being reviewed. In this case, seems like this, let's say I'm a human annotator, or maybe I'm Sam. I want to go through my reviews and start getting a sense of what's there. This one I've identified as pet supplies, and I've marked as ground truth because I'm certain that this is how I want to categorize this particular task. Let's say now that I am Sam and I have the subject matter expertise to do this categorization. I've actually gone ahead and labeled a couple of these and marked them as ground truth. So I have a number of kind of ground truth labeled tasks already. And I'm going to use these to help guide my LLM in figuring out what the best prompt plus LLM system would be to automate labeling for the rest of this project. So this is where things get very fun. We have this new prompts interface here. And what prompts takes us to is a list of these objects that we have created to help us automate for a particular use case. And here I'll create a new prompt. So a new prompt would include the name of the prompt, a description of the prompt, and also we'll be able to tell this new entity I'm creating what project I want to associate it to. So in this case, I'm doing shop is project review category. I can include a description if I would like. I know that I'm performing a text classification problem or use case as I'm taking reviews, product reviews, and classifying them into a particular category. And then I'm going to select my target project, which was reviews categorization, the one we were just taking a look at. And you'll see that we auto-populate these classes, baby products, beauty, grocery, gourmet food, based off of the label config that's in our project. So we auto-populate that already. We're going to create this prompt. And what I see now is a list of all the tasks in my project. And here I can find the ones with the ground truth. And these are the ones I went in and had labeled. And I believe these to be the correct labels that I want to iterate and get closer to for improvements. So this is the tasks from my project. And on the left side is our interface we'll be primarily interacting with to build out this automation. Up here, we'll see that there's a base model, and the base model is an OpenAI base model that I could choose. And then I have the classes that we had talked about come from the label config. These are the outputs that I want from my LLM. And then here I have an interface for me to add and create my prompt. This is where we can add the instruction that we had talked about before to tell the LLM what they want to do. We also put in our categories here so that we know what outputs we're expecting. And we also include the variable for the actual review content that we wanted to have labeled. So with that, I have actually created a prompt on the side, which I'm just going to copy in. And you can see here that I have now an instruction. So I'm telling the LLM that we're classifying product reviews. I'm providing the data, which is the review itself. And then I'm providing the categories, which are the outputs that I want from the LLM in the output. With that, I'm going to save this prompt that I've just created. And then I'm going to evaluate here to try and get a decent score. This will take a couple minutes. And what's happening now is that we are hoping to get an accuracy score here that tells me whether or not this prompt generates outputs that are close to my predictions, or in this case, are the same as my predictions. And this is an assessment for us to better understand how good is this prompt performing? And then we could take that feedback back and do better. It seems like this is performing really well. We got these outputs back from the LLM just now, and we can see which items or which tasks we got an incorrect output on, incorrect against the ground truth label that I had provided. And this is one of the key features of our solution. We provide this real-time quality feedback where if you use the prompt, you receive immediate insights back into the quality of the predictions based off of this ground truth. Let's say now I wanted to improve on this. I could add additional information with maybe my title to improve on it. Maybe I want to change the base model. And these are all options where I can add another field and rerun this prompt and get a new set of predictions to see if I can improve on this. And so this feedback loop is really important because then we can try and address inaccuracies on the fly and make sure that we're using the best system possible. So I'm actually pretty happy with this. It looks like I have 36 out of 30, sorry, 34 out of 36 responses that are correct. What I'm going to do now is the automated labeling part. So as you can see, I only have 36 tasks here that I had used for my evaluation. Next, I'm going to take this prompt that I've created and I'm going to extend it through my entire project, which has 100 tasks, and get labels for all of them. That's where this big blue button comes in. I'm going to click on it and it takes me to back to my project page, which is our shop ease reviews categorization. And what's going to happen is it's going to get predictions for every single one of these tasks here. So I have a small data set. There's 100 rows, but I could have thousands, tens of thousands, and this will be able to expedite these labels, these prediction labels, much faster. And what's awesome is that once this prompt is used to generate predictions, we can automatically convert these predictions that we get back into annotations, which streamlines our annotation workflow. You could have multiple predictions from different prompts and kind of evaluate and compare their discrepancies. And then whatever happens next, it's up to you. This resulting annotations can be integrated into the rest of your ML pipeline. So we built this into the rest of the Label Studio interface. I am getting predictions still on these tasks. And I could start to see, all right, cool. It seems like we've stopped getting predictions. And if I click into one of these, I can actually see where that prediction came in. So I clicked into a task and I can see that my model had generated this pink predictions label. And I have, an assessment here. It looks like a baby product. And if this looks good and I click through and these seem to all look okay, I can go back to my project and actually automate the conversion of the prediction to annotation by clicking on the tasks, clicking on this drop down, and then create annotations from predictions. So with this button, and I click OK, the predictions that I generated from my shop ease product review categorization get converted into annotations. That's pretty cool because from predictions to actionable labels or annotations, we do that all in one go. So super excited about this feature. Since I have a couple minutes, I wanted to also quickly share that we have another additional use case here, where in the early stages of ML development, speed is critical. Like our automated labeling solution lets you quickly also generate initial predictions without any ground truth. So let's say I don't have an annotator generating annotations in the ground truth. Maybe I have, in this hypothetical use case, maybe I have a new shop called Shop Easier, and I have reviews also for them, but I have no annotations in this case. What I could also do with prompts is use a prompt, and I'm gonna actually use one I pre-made. And I get to be able to generate these kind of scaffold bootstrapped outputs and use them also directly in my workflow. So in this case, we get to rapidly prototype and generate these predictions that could immediately be used as initial kind of prototype labels to kickstart my project. So this is a really awesome feature that we have to kind of jumpstart ML projects and zero to prototype in rapid time. So that's a bonus use case if we had, let's say, a project with no annotations yet. Cool. I don't see any questions yet in the Q&A or chat. So I'm going to flip back to our presentation here. And with that, we've kind of talked about prompts and using this new prompts feature, which includes an LLM and an interface to be able to automate labeling for our projects. I also wanted to mention that we have additional flexibility for use cases, different use cases on Label Studio. And this is through our Label Studio ML backend, which is very exciting because you can use this to connect to your Label Studio instance directly with a deployed model. This might be a custom self-hosted predictive or generative model. And then with this custom connection, you automatically generate and load predictions into the Label Studio project. So if we look back at our example with our project here, it would actually show up in our predictions here. if you connect your Label Studio backend. This offers even more flexibility. Does require a little bit of initial configuration and some more hands-on work, but this supports a whole wide range of use cases, custom models, and we also have a fresh examples library where you could take a look. I've got the links in this bottom right corner for a lot of use cases that are not yet supported by our prompts interface, but we have support out of the box today with these use cases. So we're really excited about having support for various use cases across the platform for labeling automation. All right. Cool. And since I see a chat, like a question and answer item in the Zoom option. And there's someone asking, so Nicholas is asking for the images option when I'm selecting a prompt. So like in the example I had today, which was text classification, currently the options supported are text classification, and we have some more kind of lined up that we're working on. But in the meantime, labeling for images is not yet supported. It's kind of in the roadmap, something that we're assessing. But if you have an image use case, I would encourage us to explore this ML backend. They have a list of all these different like examples and templates, and some of them include things like image segmentation, like this one. There's also text transcription. There's a segment anything model. So there's a couple options here as well for image cases. Awesome. And yeah, to wrap kind of things up that we've talked about today, we have this customer case study that we're really excited about. We've been working with our customer Geberit for a while now, and they're a major multinational manufacturer and supplier, and they build custom AI models to help improve on customer service, operational efficiency. They were by themselves trying to implement generative AI and LLM technology into their labeling automation workflow to see if it could work for them. When they were doing this by themselves, they did encounter a couple issues. One of them was kind of inaccuracy of the predictions, like the labels they got. And they also realized that implementing this would require a lot of advanced machine learning or software effort. And these were some of the points that we talked about earlier, where there's a level of software engineering and machine learning engineering that is needed to help automate labeling at scale. We were able to help them with this, and we're excited to kind of show the results from that. With working with us, we were able to get some seamless integration of this generative AI models. As you saw in our demo, we were able to kind of provide an interface that lets you quickly switch between different models and also use them through a UI. And this empowered subject matter experts, which are our annotators, who might not have that machine learning or engineering background, to be able to set up their own prompts, interact with LLMs dynamically, and they didn't really need as much of an on-ramp at that point. This also allowed for efficient AI labeling after this prompt was written. So like we talked about during in the walkthrough, we had one prompt and we used it only for a project of 100 tasks, but this could easily be extended if I had 1,000 tasks. I'd be able to generate labels even faster for that project. And we're, yeah, overall just super excited about this result. Here we were able to use Label Studio automation features, and Geberit gave us an estimation that they were able to achieve like a 5 times faster throughput. And this is calculated for speed per 1,000 labels. And this throughput was relative to straight manual labeling at a 4 to 5 times lower cost. And this cost was across the LLM charges they were encountering from their custom implementation and also the annotator time that was saved. One of the most notable achievements through this was also this impressive accuracy attained through their prompt engineering and their LLM automated classification workflow. They also had a similar use case where they had emails that they were assigning to a specific department. And their ultimate performance for this automated labeling was almost on par with their human capabilities for labeling, reaching about a 93% human reviewed accuracy. And this was really significant of a milestone, considering the volume of data they were labeling. And we are super excited and happy to be able to have to be able to partner with them to get this working. Awesome. So yeah, that's all I've got today. I think we did really well on time. Thank you for joining us and being part of the community. Hope you found the bulk of the session informative and valuable. Do reach out to us if you would like perhaps a more tailored walkthrough, if you have any questions, and we'd be happy to also set up some time for that. With that, we've got some time for Q&A, which I'm excited about. I'm going to pass things back to Nate to kick us off for the Q&A in the chat and in the Q&A option of Zoom.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Sheree. That was awesome. Great demo. And hopefully people found it to be as helpful as I did. I thought it was great. So cool. With that, we'll go ahead and jump into Q&A. I know you'd already answered one question out of the Q&A, but we've had a few more come in. So I'll go ahead and look at those real quick. Okay, first question I have is which LLMs are currently supported? Oh, I think you
I
might
muted
be
myself.
muted. Ah, there we go.
Thank you. Great question. I will just show us where we can what that looks like. So we have this API keys option today. And so the supported LLMs would be the ones that come from OpenAI. Oops. So you can connect your OpenAI API key and we will be able to fetch the models, the LLMs from there. What we're also adding is Azure support for OpenAI models. So if you already have your models on Azure, you would be able to connect with them as well. And like we talked about, if you have a more like custom model, for example, or you're using like a open source solution and you have that access to that model elsewhere, we also have the option to use the ML backend. And that was the more custom, flexible workflow for models that are not supported out of the box today. Yeah, let me see.
Perfect.
Yeah. Yeah, beat this one.
Okay, great. Okay, cool. Thank you. The next question I see in here is what is the easiest way to verify the labels created by the LLM?
Definitely. That's a fantastic question too. We have some basic interfaces you saw to show accuracy and the performance. What I will say here is that this is right now just accuracy. We have a couple of different metrics that we have planned here from ranging from like our precision recall across different classes. And also we have, maybe this is like a time to also throw in our new feature of evals if anyone has not already heard about it. Evals is a new tool on the HumanSignal platform that enables you to better understand how your LLM outputs are performing for a lot of common tasks like hallucinations, factual consistency, PII leakage. For things like that, we also have this new feature called evals, which I'm just kind of throwing at everyone now, that we could explore if we wanted to really dive deeper into the performance of LLMs and better understand better understand their outputs. So yeah, that would be a separate conversation. We actually on the 26th of June had an event that was focused on evals. And if anyone is interested, we could send over the recording for that event too.
Perfect. Cool. So we've got another question here. Can the tool automatically improve prompts based on errors indicated by a human?
Yeah, this is one of those workflows that I would love to have more discussion on to better understand like what would be next, what's expected. And I think this is coming from Ruslan, so thank you for the question. And this tool ultimately, we have a lot of plans for this particular screen. Um, if I click into one of these, uh, let's say this option, I could see the evaluation results. And we have a couple features down the line to help us with being able to correct this output from the model, or indicate which ones are incorrect according to like our human annotation. And then with that, we have a backend platform designed to help us also be able to iterate on the prompt generation for that. So right now it's more of like a kind of visual check and assessment of what performed well and what didn't. But soon enough, we'll hopefully have more features around automatically improving prompts based off of flagged errors in the evaluation.
Perfect. Um, cool. So we have another question here. It says, how does the amount of ground truth affect the accuracy and cost? With follow-up questions being, are we making one LLM call per data point in the evaluation stage? And then also, can you give any insights on the approach on automating labeling images using LLMs? Is
Yeah,
that, yeah,
definitely. Good question as well. Um, the amount of ground truth that affects accuracy of the cost. Yeah, so it is what you would expect here. Since each task is being the data from each task is being sent to the LLM, it does incur kind of the cost for as if you were doing like a prediction generation from it. It is one LM call per data at this evaluation stage as well. And we do have some plans for like caching potential LMs, caching potential prompts that we reduce on kind of the token usage. But this is also where you can kind of optimize, like the prompt interface is where you could also optimize on how much information you want to send with each. Like in this example, I have like a title that I'm sending as well as a text. Perhaps I can assess at this point whether or not I really need to send all this data. By default, I'm sending everything, but maybe I can remove the title and I'll get the same performance, or I'll realize the same performance as if I only had sent a text response. So this is a way to see if you can, change your prompt to send less data, or maybe you could change your base model and you'll realize that a cheaper base model actually accomplishes the job the same way a more expensive one can. So I've got like the 404. We're going to add the GPT-4 mini as well. So that's additional kind of benefits with that cost aspect. Cool. Any
perfect.
other questions?
Okay. Yeah, it looks like we've got another one here. What do you think about the error analysis? Like, can the tool automatically improve prompts based on errors indicated by humans?
Yeah, that's a
I think,
fantastic use case. And
or no. Oh, sorry, I totally asked the wrong thing. I'm so sorry. It's on me. I asked, how did you do the error analysis in this pipeline? Is what I had meant to read. Apologies.
oh, yeah, no problem. So it for the error analysis, I'm actually in the wrong prompt. So I'm going to switch over to the one we just demoed today. Um, Here, okay, this is the one with the outputs that we did. What you could do at this point is interact more deeply with the evaluations you got. So here I can see that my 3.5 turbo gave me the wrong output for this task here. I can click into it and understand, perhaps as a human, why this is happening. I see that the review for the product is like it seems it seems to be a product to wash cows with, which is quite an interesting product, and that indicates to me that it maybe has to do with like animals. The output from the LLM actually also had that similar sentiment, pet supplies, and our ground truth was health and personal care. So this kind of insight is some feedback for myself. If I, as a user, I'm looking at this particular task now, and I actually disagree with the original human label and agree more with the LLM, this interface just highlighted to me where I might have some issues with my like human annotations. And maybe this is a case for me to flag down this task, go back to my my annotation team and provide that feedback that, hey, like it looks like this task was not labeled correctly because I, as a reviewer now, am disagreeing with it, thanks to the LLM highlighting this as a potential discrepancy. Um, yeah, so in general, we would want our ground truth to be, golden, the data that is the most representative for what we're labeling. Sometimes the LLM can actually highlight and indicate to us that maybe our golden data set is not correct, or maybe the LLM output is indeed correct, and this will indicate to me the challenging tasks for an LLM to perform, and maybe I need to do some prompt refinement or add some more examples in the prompt, things like that. So this is really a feedback interface for that.
Very cool. Yeah, and I guess we have time for one more question. Um, we have somebody who's asking for just a little bit more information around the prompt caching feature that you were talking about a few minutes ago. I don't know if that's something you want to elaborate on.
Yeah, that's a good question too. I did loosely mention like prompt caching. We're looking for ways always to kind of save on the costs incurred by our end users. So in this case, if we can reduce the number of tokens being sent in the prompt, we're looking at ways to make that easier. So one of the methods was about prompt caching, and what this might happen is, and this is earlier stage, so I guess kind of a preview for folks. But this would be taking the prompt, caching it into perhaps like our the model deployment if we were self-posting, and then taking that prompt and not having it resent by the user for every single task. We're at early exploration stages for this, to be completely transparent, but if this is interesting to you, and whether it's for cost reasons or otherwise, I would love to dive deeper into this, and get a sense of any thoughts that you might already have on this, or ways that you would want to interact with this on our platform.
Perfect. Well, awesome. Well, I think that brings us about to time. Thank you everybody for coming. Thank you for your great questions. A big thank you to Sheree for uh, having all this information and sharing it with all the folks who attended. I will say, if you're interested in getting like a closer kind of one-on-one demo of this product, uh, or you're kind of thinking about wanting to implement it, you feel free to go to humansignal.com. Just fill out a demo request and mention in the demo request that you're interested in this labeling automation. We'd be happy to give you a closer look. And then also, when we send out the video, we'll also try to send out ways to contact us if you do have thoughts or ideas. Kind of like Sheree had mentioned, I know that we're always happy to talk to folks who are using Label Studio and looking for more ways to use Label Studio. So we'd absolutely love to hear from you and get your feedback. But in the meantime, everybody have a great rest of the day. And thank you again, Sheree, for coming.
Thanks so much, everyone.